Does a trade between the Red Sox and the A's make sense? We'll talk about it today in a special crossover edition of Locked On A's, Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On MLB Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to a special edition of Locked On A's and Locked On Red Sox. I'm the host of Locked On A's, Booney, and this is Gabby from Locked On Red Sox. Gabby, how are you today?
I am doing great. It's a great day to be a Red Sox fan. The Yankees got bounced from the playoffs, which is always something that brings us quite a lot of joy, especially since we had to suffer through them eliminating us this year. So definitely happy for the Blue Jays in that regard. And, just looking forward to hopefully what should be a big offseason for the Red Sox.
Is that rivalry real? Obviously, across the country in California with the A's, we don't really have a rivalry right now. We don't have a city. So is that rivalry as hated as it is?
Yes, it's very, very real. It's, I grew up with it. There's no team we really hate in sports more than the Yankees. It's so real to the point where, I just prey on their misery, pray that drought that they've had since 2009 just goes on for the rest of my time on this planet, because I don't think that I could actually survive watching the Yankees win a World Series. I want them to be as miserable as possible.
Oh my God. It was an exciting year for the Red Sox. The A's saw them late in the season. We saw them 3 times in Sacramento. Red Sox took 2 of 3 in Sacto and then went to Boston. And the A's got old Red Sox Nation a little bit worried there by taking the first 2 of the series. Red Sox avoid the sweep there.
Yeah, it was definitely stressful because that was a period during the season when nothing was guaranteed for the Red Sox. They were still fighting for a playoff spot at that point because they were so close with other teams that were neck and neck with the Red Sox in that playoff race. So it felt like those games down the stretch had to be won. And then they started dropping series and people were panicking because they were like, is this going to be yet another season where we missed the playoffs after the front office made all these promises about making the playoffs in 2025? So that series definitely had people a little bit uncomfortable with what the future could hold in terms of if the Red Sox were even going to be a playoff team.
It was such a swing of emotions for the Red Sox this year. I mean, Devers trade was like the end of the world, right? And then all of a sudden the Red Sox just go on a run. Yeah. And, it tells you a lot about just leadership and chemistry and clubhouse and that sort of thing. What was the year like for the Red Sox?
Yeah, a roller coaster is definitely a great way to describe it. They had a lot of excitement surrounding them going into the season because the front office went and had a pretty good offseason. They went and finally got a true number 1 starting pitcher. And, they brought in Alex Bregman, who's a veteran that I'm sure you're very familiar with as a player, who came in and really helped mentor some of the younger guys on this team. And this is an overall young roster. So he was able to go in and make some big offseason moves, brought in Aroldis Chapman, who came out of nowhere and had one of the best seasons of his career in 2025. And nobody expected that to happen. So lots of key moves in the offseason, and things didn't start off as people were hoping. It was kind of rocky. And then they traded Devers, and people were like, well, is that the front office's way of saying we don't believe in this team and we're going to sell and just kind of move on to 2026? Then they started playing well. Then they called up their top prospect and things seemingly started going better. The Giants were kind of going downhill while the Red Sox were going uphill. And it was just this interesting pattern of thinking maybe the front office was onto something when they traded Devers, because he, as well as his team, went downhill completely after that. And the Red Sox were heading in a good direction. And then at the trade deadline, they really had an underwhelming trade deadline. So then people were like, again, did they do enough to make a true push? And now in hindsight, you look at where they ended up. They made the playoffs, which is good, but got bounced in the wild card round. So it really makes you wonder, if they had done it more at the trade deadline, would they still be in the postseason right now? And I think that's the part now going into this offseason that we're wondering is, are they actually going to fill the holes needed to be a true World Series contender in 2026? Because that's kind of where we're at now.
One thing I don't understand about the Red Sox, and which kind of motivated us getting together here and talking, was the backlash. And again, tell me if I'm wrong or overreacting as far as just what seems to be the, I don't know how to put it, disappointment or dislike, or what they feel Jarren Duran should be doing and maybe should be doing more. He's constantly in the rumor mill as far as being traded, as far as what I hear. I personally love Jarren Duran. He finished 8th in MVP voting last year. He was an all-star. He's a young kid. He plays hard. And I saw your episode yesterday with regard to Duran possibly being on the move or rumors like that, and kind of proposed something just imaginary out there and seeing if it could possibly get done. It kind of made sense a little bit, right? And what the proposition was Luis Severino, Braden Nett, who's the number 4 prospect in the A's organization, came over in the Mason Miller trade to the Padres, and JJ Bleday for Jarren Duran. Tell me what the feeling in Boston is towards Duran, because I think he is just an unbelievable player.
Yeah, I think he got a lot more heat than he should have gotten this year. I mean, he definitely declined a little bit offensively from what we saw from him in 2024. For sure, his offensive numbers were not as strong as they were, but I felt like people were blaming him for more than they should have, and it really wasn't that bad. Like, yes, his offensive numbers were not as good as 2024, but it really wasn't as bad as people were making it out to be. And the good thing about Jarren Duran is he's a versatile player. He's not just this one-dimensional player that comes in and only provides his bat. I mean, his speed alone is something that can really rattle opposing pitchers. And that was something that the Red Sox used to their advantage with him. Was usually he typically was hitting leadoff. So he was a guy who the Red Sox would have hit in that leadoff spot for a good portion of his time here in Boston. And it would allow the Red Sox to try to get him on base early so that he could get into scoring position early, which is huge for a team that relies on trying to manufacture runs, because he's a big base stealer. He's a big turning singles into doubles guy, and he can utilize that speed to cover a lot of ground in the outfield too. And we saw him make some big plays in the outfield this year that not your average outfielder makes, because they wouldn't even be able to get to that ball. So there are a lot of upsides to Jarren Duran's game that I think the Red Sox could sell to another team. And the reality is the Red Sox are crowded in the outfield right now. They are going to have to move an outfielder, for one, to address other areas of need on the roster, but for two, their used to be number 1 prospect, who is now currently in the majors, Roman Anthony, was hurt for the last part of the season. So they're going to need a spot for him in the outfield for when he comes back, which is sounding like the beginning of the 2026 season. So moving Jarren Duran makes a lot of logical sense, because there is some upside there in terms of his versatility. And he is the guy who defensively, I would say the Red Sox don't regard as much defensively as their other outfielders, because their other outfielders are so good in the outfield. I mean, you have Wilyer Abreu, who was a Gold Glover in 2024. Cedar Rafaela, probably the best defensive center fielder in the league. So they definitely don't want to move those guys. So Duran is somebody who, if your team is looking for a versatile player who can do a lot, and he may not be the best offensive player on the team, but he can still do enough to where he can change a game, because having him on base in a close game late, that can change the result for your team if you have a guy like Jarren Duran on base.
I want to take a look at this trade a little bit closer, piece by piece, player for player, what we kind of just hypothetically proposed. And also, I want to talk a little bit about Roman Anthony, because we have ourselves a little bit of a Roman Anthony, or maybe the Red Sox have themselves a little bit of a Nick Kurtz. Up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Just download the app today because the NFL season is here and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
We are Locked On A's, Locked On Red Sox, and we are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. So do us a favor and hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. Gabby, Luis Severino, 2 more years left. He has a $22 million due next year, and he has a player option for 2027, which I assume he's already opted in on. And we have Braden Nett, the number 4 overall prospect in the A's organization. JJ Bleday, a number 4 overall pick from 2019, hasn't been that guy yet. But again, I would say the focus of those 2 picks, those 2 trade pieces are something like our Severino and Nett. Now, when I put it out on social media and put it out, A's fans, whatever we have left of them, we're like, no way. And in my head, I was like, when I put it together, I'm like, there's no way the Red Sox would do this. When you look at that trade, Duran's a free agent in 29, I believe. So there's a couple more years of team control there. Is this a trade? Do you think the Red Sox Nation would be happy about? I mean, Severino is who Severino is, right? He's a solid major league pitcher, middle of the rotation type of guy. He is who he is. Nett is just like every other prospect, has flashes of, who he can be, but prospects are what prospects are. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough because the Red Sox absolutely need pitching this offseason. Yeah. They 100% need to get a number 2 starting pitcher to go behind Garrett Crochet in the rotation because
how about early sure looked good against the A's. I'll tell you that. He looked like a darn Cy Young.
Yeah. He's definitely somebody who has earned his way into the Red Sox rotation. God. The issue that the Red Sox have had over the last few years is that they try to take chances in hoping that guys are going to develop into what they want them to be. So, I'm not discounting a guy like Connolly early. I think the potential is definitely there, but he's only made a few major league starts in reality at the end of the day. So they can't really approach the 2026 season with the expectation that he's going to be a number 2 starting pitcher. They have Brian Bayo, who right now is really truly no better than a number 3. Yeah. And Lucas Giolito, who overall had a pretty good season, but is another guy who it's even questionable if he's even going to come back. And if he does, is he going to be able to give the same level of effectiveness as we saw from him in 2025? So there are question marks there. And the biggest thing that I will say is they need to get a sure thing as a number 2 starter. And Severino, he's a veteran. He's a guy who has been there, done that, has the experience, which is something that the Red Sox definitely could use, again, with a pretty young team. Overall, my worry would be how efficient is he going to be able to be to the point where it would make sense for the Red Sox to slot him into their rotation every 5 days. I mean, right. At this point in his career, is he consistent enough to where he could be more reliable than a back-end starter?
And he's expensive as well. You know what I mean? I don't look, when I think you were talking about Giolito, that's who I think of Severino as, good, solid, veteran type pitcher. He's going to give you some great outings. And at the same time, he's going to get hit now and then as well. And that's kind of what his year looked like this year. Actually, probably a little bit worse. But, who knows? Again, I'm high on Jarren Duran. And I think that speaking of guys that the Red Sox are high on, you talk about Roman Anthony. And the A's have themselves somebody, Nick Kurtz, who's probably going to get Rookie of the Year this year.
You can add him in the trade, include him, and I'll say, yeah.
I bet you would. Yeah. I bet you would. Right? But what the Red Sox did real smart is they extended Anthony. They extended him through 2033, I think, 10 years down the road. They bought out the arbitration years. And with A's ownership and how it's being looked at, and you could go through history on them and whatever. This offseason, if there's any time with a possible lockout looming in 2027, if there's a time to extend somebody and give somebody a Roman Anthony type of contract, this is the offseason. I liked what they did with Anthony. Are they going to do something with that with the who's the other kid you have? The other prospect?
Marcelo Meyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the worry with him is his injury history, and I think that's something that the Red Sox are a little bit wary about right now, and it's a reason why they could be a little bit hesitant as to offer him the same type of deal that they gave Roman, because he missed the last couple months of the season due to injury this year. In 2024, something very similar happened. He was in AAA at the time, but he missed a good portion of the second half of the season with an injury. So I think the Red Sox are first trying to see if he can stay on the field before they give him that type of contract. Also, they don't necessarily feel like he's as proven yet as Roman is. I mean, Roman Anthony was no doubt the number one prospect in baseball before he got called up.
No question.
And he actively was making an impact and making a difference in the Red Sox lineup to the point where they started losing a lot of games after he got injured, and the offense had no idea how to score runs anymore. So you know that he was important in that regard. Whereas with Marcelo Meyer, he was showing a really good defensively, especially showing, I would say, when he was out there, because they had him play a couple different positions. He was playing third base when he first got called up because Alex Bregman was hurt. Then when Bregman came back, they switched him to second base, and he was also displaying really good defense over there too. So he can kind of show that he can be a mobile and flexible infielder to the point where they can have him play multiple positions in that regard. And he can play a sound defense either at third or at second base, or his primary position, which is shortstop, but that's being blocked by Trevor Story currently at the moment. So depending on where they put him, his defense definitely has impressed. Offensively, he's not quite at the same level as where Roman Anthony was at, especially towards the end when he got injured and then ended up missing a bunch of time. I do think he's somebody that the Red Sox hope will be part of their future long term, and it's definitely something that's being considered, but I think they want to see a little bit more from him before they feel confident enough to give him that type of deal. But with Roman, I think they were really smart to lock him down when they did, because that could end up looking like a steal down the road.
No kidding. Absolutely. What is up with next year for 2026? Does Bregman have an opt-out option?
He does now. After this season, he has an opt-out, and then he also has another opt-out option after next year. A lot of people are thinking he's going to end up opting out and testing free agency. I mean, it's tough because the Red Sox are paying him $40 million a year right now. I don't know that he's going to get that elsewhere, especially because he missed a couple months this year due to injury, and he really did not play well when coming back from his injury, especially on offense. He just wasn't contributing the way the Red Sox were hoping he would have contributed. So yes, he does have an opt-out. If he decides to opt out, the Red Sox absolutely should still be in the mix for him, because even what he did off the field and the leadership he provided for the young players is so valuable to this team. So if he opts out, he's definitely going to be looking for more. I don't know that another team would be willing to pay him $40 million a year.
So
we'll have to see how that goes for him. But yeah, that's a big question mark coming into this Red Sox offseason, and it really is going to determine a lot of how they move the rest of the offseason after that.
Gabby, Fenway Park. It's one place that I've always wanted to go to. I've been to the old Yankee Stadium. I've never been to Fenway Park. I've always wanted to go. I've been to Wrigley, not the Green Monster. And when I come back, I want to talk to you about Fenway Park. You've been to plenty of games out there. I want to hear the vibe from somebody who's been there so many times. I go to Sutter Health Park right now. It's a little bit of a big difference. So if that's okay with you, I'd love to get your take on old Fenway.
What do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla riding a T-Rex? Confidence, pure confidence. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. That's exactly where Rugiet's Go Long comes in. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula so you can get hard and go the distance. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to rugiet.com and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure to use our code so they know we sent you.
Thank you for making Locked On A's and Locked On Red Sox your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB game night. Every game, every night, until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And one game they won't be covering is going to be the Yankees Blue Jays. But here we go. Fenway Park. This is more of a selfish little segment for me here because I have not been there. Tell me about Fenway Park. Does it live up to the hype we all hear across the country?
Absolutely, 100% yes. I mean, anybody who appreciates baseball history is going to appreciate Fenway Park. It's the same place that it's always been. Yeah. And if you look at old clips of so many legendary players who have come through Fenway, it looks the exact same. The seats really feel like you're in an old school place. And even when you walk around and there's all these pictures of guys like Ted Williams, Carl Yastrzemski, like Red Sox legends that have come through there, and you're just picturing them at that ballpark. There's just so much history there, for one. And so anybody who appreciates that is going to appreciate being there. It's also small because that's just how it was back in the day. So when I go to other ballparks, I'm like, wow, this is pretty big and pretty spread out compared to Fenway. So the fact that it's small and it's close knit makes it feel like you're a lot more involved and you're closer to the players and you're closer to the action, and the players feed off of that energy. There's nothing like an energy for a Red Sox Yankees game in particular, like that rivalry and how strong that is. So many people show up for those games, and a regular season game feels like a playoff game. It happens a lot at Fenway. The entire month of September, the atmosphere felt like it was a playoff game because this was the first time since 2021 that the Red Sox were in the playoffs. So fans were hungry to see playoff baseball back for the Boston Red Sox. So fans were showing up for games in September to try to get this team to get some wins at the end of the year. And it was just great to see how many people were there and filling those seats. And when you are sitting in those Fenway seats and you look around and you see all these seats that are full, you really realize how strong Red Sox Nation is. And it's fun because whenever I go to games, I always end up making friends because you end up just bonding with the people sitting near you about how much the Red Sox mean to you and about how much pain like they put people through like over the years. And especially, you know, people who grew up in the middle of the curse. Like I can't even imagine doing that. Like I'm lucky to not have to have like gone through all of that and wanting to rip my hair out every year when they fall short. But it's fun. It's so much fun. And there's just nothing like it really. I've never been to Wrigley, but Wrigley is often the ballpark that's most compared to Fenway because it also is so old and historic. And the experience, I know from people who have been to both, said that that's the very similar vibe that they get when they go to Fenway is Wrigley. It's kind of the equivalent, which again, Wrigley's a place I would love to go to as well. So if you're ever in Boston, it's definitely a must go spot, but you have to be prepared depending on the time of year for it to maybe be cold. That's definitely something that catches people by surprise sometimes. Like some of those nights, unless you go in the middle of July or August, when it's still nice out at night, once the sun goes down, it's cold. So people are breaking out the sweatshirts and everything, but there's so much to do around Fenway too. That's the other thing that you don't get with every ballpark is there's just so many fun restaurants, bars, just places to check out. And it's all inside like the strip. but where Fenway is, they block off those streets so people can't just drive through, and you can just go check out any of those places and then just walk right into your seats. And I've been to other ballparks where there's nothing there. It's just the ballpark.
Yeah, no, me too.
So that's why it's an experience. Like going to a game is an experience for people because you check out all these other places around it, and it just makes it really special and fun.
That is awesome. Do you have a favorite game you remember?
Oh, geez. Favorite. That's so hard. There have been so many that I've been to. There was one game. They've all been so good.
Yeah. How many games did you go to this year?
This year I went to 20.
Okay. That's darn good. Yeah.
So that's basically one in almost every home series of the year. I think it was only like a handful of home series that I didn't get to a game for. But there were some fun ones this year. Red Sox Dodgers, I got to watch Kershaw pitch against Garrett Crochet. So that was a legendary matchup. That's definitely probably one of my favorite games I went to this year. The Red Sox won that game, but I had never seen Kershaw pitch in person.
Yeah.
So that was a fun one for me to go to this year. That was probably at the top of my list for games I went to in 2025. There was also a game I went to a couple of years ago where Tanner Houck was pitching for the Red Sox, and he had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning. Yeah. And that was fun. That was probably one of my favorite games I went to also, because I was like, am I going to experience a no-hitter in person for the first time? It ended up being broken up in the 7th inning, but that was just such a fun game to be at, because I was like, are we experiencing like something that you just don't see all the time? Which it's crazy, by the way, that there were no no-hitters in 2020. Is that crazy? Around Major League Baseball. That's nuts. Something that is so crazy to think about, that not one pitcher threw a no-hitter. But that was fun because that was the closest I've come to seeing a no-hitter in person. But yeah, obviously lots of memories during 2018 when the Red Sox were just winning all the time. They were winning games all the time. And there was one game where they were down 7-0 and they came all the way back to win that game. And I was at that game.
No way.
So that was fun. So definitely a handful of games that I really enjoyed going to specifically. Anytime I see the Red Sox hit a walk-off home run and I'm at that game, that's always up there at the top of the list. But I think that 2018 game where they came back from down 7-0 that I was at was probably my favorite game that I have been to. But that season in general was just one of the best seasons to be a Red Sox fan, because they just won every night, it seemed. And it just continued all the way through the World Series. So maybe we'll eventually go back to those days. Who knows? But
never know. Gabby, this was awesome. I had a blast. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was great. I don't know what your expectation is for the A's this offseason, or if you think that they're what they're going to do.
I've had only one expectation for the A's this offseason. I want them. We have Soderstrom, Jacob Wilson, and Nick Kurtz. And my expectation is to sign 2 of the 3 to a similar type of deal that Roman Anthony got. And I want those 2 to be those pictures on the side of the billboards, the side of casinos in Las Vegas. I want some respect towards this franchise, and I want some credibility to the franchise. And those 2 are good enough where you can do it with. So that's the only thing I really want this offseason.
They definitely have young talent to build around. It's just making sure that they retain those young players, because they have the potential to build a competitive team as long as they know what the focal point should be. And those guys that you listed should be the players that they build around 100%, so they can get back to being in contention.
If they do that, if they sign those guys long-term and what they got coming around and who they've drafted, I mean, it's going to be a year in, year out playoff team contending for World Series championships. It's that good.
It's fun. Being a postseason baseball team is definitely fun, and being able to watch winning seasons is fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. There is. I mean, May was pretty miserable. 20-21 we lost. It's like, oh my God. Yep. So I really want that. I really want them to do that, because then it just puts a whole new vibe on the franchise and what they're doing. Because for years, it's always been, we've won. I mean, we've made it to the postseason since 2000. sixth most in all of baseball. A lot of people don't realize that. We haven't had much success in the postseason, but at the same time, it's always been win for 3-4 consecutive years, then rebuild for 4 years. And we're really, really bad during that period of time. And then we come back and we win again. And it's almost been lightning in a bottle because it's a little bit of luck because you only get so many draft picks every single time. And in order to win at that rate with draft picks, you gotta be right a lot. You got to have a lot of Roman Anthonys.
That's kind of the approach that the Orioles have been trying to take too, is just hit on their draft picks and just build a competitive team that way. And they're just hoping that it works.
It's hard. It's just hard to do it that way. You have that as your core, but I still think you got to build around those guys. And, so that's my expectations. Soderstrom, Kurtz, Jacob Wilson. I want 2 of those guys to have their arbitration years bought out and extended through 2033 to get a whole new fan base excited, because right now the A's literally don't have a fan base. I mean, literally.
I was wondering that. I was like, I don't really think I know any, but
Oakland hates them. They wouldn't take Sacramento's name when they went to Sacramento. Yep. And then Vegas, no matter what everyone's talking about, Vegas is still a few years away. So no one likes them right now. We're like everyone hates us. So, oh my God. But that's the way it's gone. But
we'll have to see what kind of moves these teams make. And who knows, maybe they will spark up a trade. Who knows?
Maybe Duran. Maybe Jarren Duran. Maybe. Thanks, Gabby. That was awesome, Gabby. Thank you so much.